Fire away. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Saturn Slam review, a day late and a dollar short edition. Um, but we have been hunkered down with our deep analysis over this very dense wrestling weekend, and we've much like the Iowa caucus needed to recount the numbers, and we're coming to you now with a joke that will A, not make you laugh, and B, date this episode horribly. So,
Let's just get to it.
yeah, sure. Worlds Collide 2020 was a show that took the place of a takeover, but essentially was a takeover in everything but name. And it was a show indeed. I did not see the pre-show match. Do you have anything to say about Kaylee Ray versus Mia Yim?
That's an interesting matchup. I did not see it,
Okay.
but
Apparently,
I can only speculate that would have been just maybe worth watching, just because I'd be curious. But
see how that,
like you said, we were super busy.
Kaylee Ray beat Mia Yim, and that was the first win for NXT UK on the night. Finn Balor beat Ilja Dragunov.
Yep.
This match was pretty good. I thought Mr. Dragunov's match with Cesaro was better. Apparently, Triple H is quote-unquote obsessed with Dragunov, so I would expect bigger things from him in the coming year. Shawn Michaels apparently is very high on Jordan Devlin, which makes sense based on what happened on this show. So these two boys have friends in high places.
Mm-hmm. Which is great for the brand.
Yeah,
it's great for the guys. Ilya has he's got that intensity. He's got that weird that eye-catching factor going on.
Yes, I think he could use a update to his look. It's pretty clean, basic.
Mm-hmm.
And the red contacts, if that's what those are, need to go.
I was thinking, I kind of liked it. He got a little colored during the match, and he had a single streak of blood as a tear right down the middle of one of his eyes. I'm like, how does such a small amount of whatever stuff on your face change the complexion of your look so dramatically?
I don't know, but
he's like, I have a new makeover. I put a streak of red under my eye now.
I mean, yeah, if he did some war paint, maybe that's it. I don't know. I don't like the red contacts, and I think he could maybe stand to stick out a little bit because he looks like a creative wrestler preset at the moment.
Yeah, he makes me think of who's the guy in the breakout tournament who had the gloves?
Oh, Dexter Lumis.
Dexter Lumis. That's right. He's been in 2 matches since that tournament.
Put his face on a fucking milk carton. Anyway, that led into this is a good match. Finn Balor won with the coup de grace into 1916 and went to harass Johnny Gargano, apparently.
As you do.
Next up, we had Angel Garza, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Travis Banks, and Jordan Devlin in a fatal 4-way for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. I preferred the triple threat number 1 contenders match a few weeks ago on NXT, but this was still a fine match. Jordan Devlin gets the somewhat surprising win with his Devlin inside back suplex. I didn't think they'd take the belt off of Angel Garza so quickly. I think this is just his second defense. And
it's true.
If they were going to take it off, I would have rather seen Swerve get the belt. But when you think about how they split this car, spoiler alert, they split the series 3-3. So
they also didn't make a big mention out of it. This wasn't fucking Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Where it's a giant fucking scoreboard that lights up every time.
That's true. They didn't really focus on that. But when you're looking at, you knew it was going to be pretty balanced. Maybe one brand has one win more, but like the idea, I would have thought that NXT UK would have won more because like NXT at Survivor Series, they're the lesser known brand, and you kind of want to establish them as equal to, which I guess
cross
they did
promotion
by
there.
splitting the series. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is when you looked at the card and you're like, okay, well, NXT UK can win here and win here and win here. This was one of the matches where they had the win. And thinking about it, they don't have a North American Championship equivalent on their brand, but they do have a lot of smaller guys. So potentially this could act as like their mid-card title.
Could. I agree. Like, and it it helps sell that this stuff can move around between the brands.
Yeah. So
it's important to share the love, get a bigger diversity of champions.
And hey, Jordan Devlin's a fine choice for Cruiserweight champion.
Yup.
You could do far worse. Next up, we had the match I think I was maybe most looking forward to. I mean, I was very hotly anticipating the main event, but this match really piqued my interest. That was DIY versus Mustache Mountain.
That's right. In the wrestling equivalent of picking Rainbow Road when playing multiplayer Mario Kart, DIY got together for this one match to just go up against Mustache Mountain and just give the fans what they want.
Yeah,
Batista, give me what I want.
Give me what I want. I did really like the new logo they came up for them. It blends their two logos very well together. Just give a shout to that. This match, though, I liked it, but it was not quite what I expected or wanted. And I think the gentleman's contest bit in the beginning went on a little too long, and it kind of, and the way they did it is they would do some spots and then they'd be like, oh yeah, the test of strength, stalemate, golf claps all around, and it would like really break the flow of the match. But once they got that shit out of the way, this match got very good very quickly, as one would expect. But I think much like the New Day versus the Shield at Survivor Series 2016 or 17, whichever that was, it didn't feel as big as it could have. Like, it wasn't it ain't no fucking Wyatt's versus Shield.
Yeah. It needed the special sauce, that little extra touch. How do you feel about Trent Seven in this match? Because I know you've been relatively critical of him.
I thought he was fine. My main problems with Trent Seven is that his offense isn't particularly impactful looking, and he doesn't sell. I'm not to say he doesn't sell. He takes more abuse than he should in a match, and like keeps on going. I guess he no sells to a certain extent. But in this match, I think they played to his strengths. I do have to contend, like when I think of Mustache Mountain, I'm excited about Tyler Bate, and oh yeah, by the way, Trent Seven's there too. So by that token, my interest was more in seeing Tyler Bate mix it up with Gargano and Ciampa, more so than my interest in seeing Trent Seven. But I don't think he took away from the match. There was, as I'm sitting here talking to you, I can't recall any moment that made me go, oh, fucking Trent Seven.
Yeah, he knew how important this was. He wanted to make it good, make it a memory. You can put on the picture frame wall.
Memrex. Get your cheap DVDs.
I was thinking you get the little cube that you can put on your keychain that just does a low res slideshow. The pictures you download onto it.
Yeah,
it's got one of those carrying around.
But yeah, I think this match was solid. I don't know that it broke like 4-star territory. I would say it's maybe like a 3 3/4, 3.5 sort of deal. If they had wrestled the whole 22 minutes, they probably would have gotten above 4. But I don't know.
Yeah. As slow starts go, that was particularly pronounced.
Some people might not have as much of an issue with it as I do, but those people aren't on this show. So, next up we had Rhea Ripley versus Toni Storm. This match I was kind of disappointed in. I recalled enjoying their initial matches on NXT UK quite a bit, but this match, I don't know, it didn't really do it for me. I think I'm just on such a still recovering from the emotional high that was Rhea versus Baszler at the end of the year for the championship, that like every other women's title match just isn't really registering with me quite yet.
Yeah, and for me personally, I haven't been starstruck with Rhea's championship reign as of yet.
To be fair, like this is
like, yes,
this
it
was
just
her
started.
first title defense. She hasn't really done anything. I mean, that isn't a knock on you so much as like I see on Reddit a lot. People are like, oh my god, they're fucking him up as champion, or he's such a bad reign. It's like he's had a defense. Chill.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. Something about this match. It wasn't bad, but
no,
it wasn't particularly noteworthy or memorable to me. As I sit here a week removed from watching it, I can scarcely remember anything about it.
Right.
So that goes and tells you there. Main event. We had Imperium versus Undisputed Era. One title down. And unfortunately, very early on in this match, Alexander Wolf, who I was excited to see because I haven't seen Alexander Wolf wrestle since Sanity got called up to the main roster. And I wanted to see like if he had made any changes to his style to fit the Imperium gimmick, and like, you know, I just wanted to see him work. I remember enjoying him as a member of Sanity, and
Sanity was so good.
Yeah, he
broke it up, and what did they do with it? I don't know. They had to fucking turn in Killian Dane to get their receipt back.
Yeah, they sent Killian Dane and Alexander Wolf back to get their deposit, and then they stuck Nikki Cross with Alexa Bliss, and I haven't seen Eric Young on TV in over a year.
We need a little bank. You put in a nickel every time we say have not seen blank in over a year.
It'll fund our yacht.
It'll fund the absentee championship belt.
Yeah.
There's no logo on it. It's just
it's vacant. Vacant, the inaugural champion of the absentee title belt. But anyway, Alexander Wolf got knocked out very early on in this match, and they got him out of here. So this became a 4-on-3 handicap match, essentially, which...
props to Drake, by the way. Great officiating on that.
Yes, he got him out of there before anything bad could happen. And it, as far as, you know, having to, I'm sure, change pretty much everything they had planned for the entire 30-minute match, because the dude got knocked out in the first 3 minutes, they did a heck of a job making it seem like that was maybe even part of the plan.
This is one of the myriad reasons why they are professionals.
Yeah.
And should be making even more than they do. They work for it.
They certainly do. Imperium ended up coming out on top, which I don't have a problem with in a vacuum. I kind of have a problem with the Undisputed Era losing 4-on-3, but Imperium was going over before Alexander Wolf got knocked out. Like, I can't hold that against them.
Yeah. It just makes it rough how it ended up.
Rough pill to swallow, but Fabian Eichner.
Shades of War Games.
Yeah. Fabian Eichner was a goddamn madman in this match. He took on the Eric Young in the first War Games match of just teleporting wherever a body was needed in the ring at all times. And carried on that legacy well. Walter and Roderick Strong had a chopping contest, and if I had to choose between getting chopped by Walter or Roderick Strong, I would retire.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was the first match I actually saw with Walter, and we heard about, like, his thing was his chops. And like I remember feeling underwhelmed the first match I saw was chops. And since then, every time I've seen a match he does it, it is the wonderful thunderclap that I hope every Palm Strike is.
I remember in the Barclays Center when we were there for TakeOver New York, like, everyone shushed, but even if they had been like talking at a low murmur, I'm sure I still would have heard the chop over them pretty clearly.
It's it's a phenomenon. It's an experience. Peyote, cocaine, chopped in the chest by Walter.
I think that as a lad growing up in the Bavarian farmlands, one of his only pastimes when his wooden horse would break was to just slap a tree trunk front and backhand. And that's how he developed his...
not afford an axe, so I had to chop it down.
That's how he developed his chops.
He strikes me as a man who would be into Bavarian bear wrestling or whatever, some shit like that.
Something like that. He also strikes me as a man who may well have gotten into making the wooden horses with wigs as an adult.
Yeah. Oh.
That joke was not that funny to make me laugh that hard. And it was my own joke. That's the worst part about it.
It's a weird feeling.
Yeah. Royal Rumble 2020.
Super Bumble.
This was actually a pretty good show. I'd say this is probably the best WWE main roster pay-per-view since fucking, I don't know. I can't even really tell you.
I want to say it's because with an event like this, like the Royal Rumble is usually pretty consistent. We can go back. We can look back over our old episodes, but I don't remember being outright upset ever with the Royal Rumble like I have been with things like Fastlane.
Yes, I was about, as soon as you said upset, I was like Fastlane.
Fastlane.
Which I don't know that they're doing Fastlane this year, so we might be spared the annual Kurt hates Fastlane rant.
It'll go the way of Great Balls of Fire.
Still disappointed we never got Splish Splash. I was taking a bath. But yeah, like the Royal Rumble, at least the ones that we have covered, have been, it's always, at least decent.
Right.
You're gonna get.
I think the souring note was Nia Jax being the final entrant in both of them last year.
Yeah, that one was rough. Even with that said, I don't think we shat on the Rumble too hard because we were high on Seth winning, and then they had Asuka win the Women's Royal Rumble, or she tapped out Becky Lynch. She won the Rumble the year before that. I don't remember who. Becky Lynch won the Women's Royal Rumble, so like the people that made sense to win won. Jesus. But yeah, like the Rumble, it's hard to have a bad Rumble. It's happened. It's happened several times. But for the most part, it's a pretty safe show that's going to be pretty good. But even with that in mind, this was a very strong show from top to bottom. I did not watch the pre-show. I had other things to occupy my time with. Sheamus defeated Chad Gable. I refuse to call him Shorty G.
I can't believe that name stuck.
They made him change his whole attire too. He wears stupid basketball shorts and a cap now. Dude's 5'8". He's not that short. That's the average height for a man in this country.
But they got it. It's a fucking steam engine. Their departments. Once you make a change, you just got to roll with it for the next 6 months.
Andrade defeated Humberto Carrillo to retain his United States Championship. And then he immediately got suspended for 30 days for violating the wellness policy. And
fantastic.
So we won't be seeing the U.S. title on screen for a while.
That's all right. We'll give it a little time to soak. If they're smart, they'll write an angle for it, but they're not, so they won't.
Yeah, the main car. Actually, they did do an angle where Carrillo DDT'd him onto the concrete like he did the Carrillo earlier, and then Zelina Vega brought Angel Garza to the main roster this week.
So
I don't know if that's permanent or temporary. I hope not, because I've not gotten my fill of Angel Garza.
He's just gotten started.
Don't take him away from me.
He's
just a boy.
You're gonna put him in the mid-card mines. We'll toil away with No Way Jose's endless conga line.
For God's sakes, Vince, he's just a boy.
He doesn't know how to put on his pants yet.
He always struggled with wardrobe malfunction.
That one got me.
So the main card kicked off with Roman Reigns versus King Corbin in a Falls Count Anywhere match. They did what they had to do with this match. They brawled around the stadium a bit. They didn't do all the stuff I would have liked them to do. They didn't brawl into the dugout and the clubhouse. They mostly just kind of went up the stage. They were in the fans for a little bit. Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode came out to aid Corbin. The Usos came out to help Roman even the odds. The one part about this match that made me laugh was this event took place in Minute Maid Park.
Right.
And if you don't follow baseball, the Houston Astros, who play at Minute Maid Park, have been involved in a cheating scandal, which included the banging of a trash can to signal that an off-speed pitch was coming. And during this match, Dolph Ziggler picked up one of the trash cans and banged the lid a couple times before he hit Roman with it, which made me laugh.
You love to see that. Got a real sense of humor about those things.
Roman eventually won following, I believe, a spear.
Sounds right. Sounds Roman enough
on
for
the
me.
Stage. This match was, it was better than I expected it to be. It was a brawl. If you do not like brawls, then you will not like this match. But as far as what I expect from Roman Reigns and King Corbin, I would say my expectations were met.
I have been whelmed.
I'm thoroughly whelmed. Immediately following that was the Women's Royal Rumble.
Heyo.
There were some returns and some surprises. The standout performer was Bianca Belair. She was in there for 30 minutes. Got, I think, 6 eliminations. Something like that. Beth Phoenix was a surprise. Molly Holly was a surprise. Kelly Kelly was in there. Whenever they bring Kelly Kelly back, it just, it's a good reminder of where they came from in terms of the women's division and how much progress has been made in that regard. Because, man, she looks so out of place now. amongst like
Strange.
all the women who can actually work. Business picked up towards the end at number 30 when Shayna Baszler walked out as the number 30 entrant and quickly eliminated 6 people of her own. And when she came down, I texted Peter, Shayna versus Becky at Mania confirmed. Because I never would have thought they'd be so stupid as to do something like, I don't know, have Charlotte win.
And yet
here we are.
As I stand here today, looking at the Wikipedia page.
As I live and breathe, Charlotte Flair, winner of the 2020 Women's Royal Rumble.
God.
So, Becky also won. We'll get to that. As did Bayley. So, neither of those matches is particularly exciting. I have heard rumor, and they planted the seed on television, so it seems like it's going to check out, that the plan is Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley for the NXT title at WrestleMania. My issue with that is that I don't want my NXT belts not on TakeOver, number one. And number two, I have a crippling paranoia that Charlotte Flair will win that match and be the NXT Women's Champion for like a year and a half.
I don't want to know what that's like. She'll just be on NXT. Is that what's going down?
I mean, it kind of makes sense from the standpoint of where they're not beating AEW in the ratings, so let's put our biggest female star on that show. But the thing is, they already made a really big star in Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
Like, her star power is roughly on par with Charlotte's at this point, I feel.
Yeah. And as we were talking, Kurt relayed some brainstorming to me that's a very good thought about these things. We'll talk about it again when we talk about the weeklies. But the ratings don't account for all the traction that NXT gets because it has the network, which ostensibly a shit ton of people use.
Yeah.
All the time. Particularly the younger demo, which is conspicuous by its diminished nature in the regular ratings.
And when you factor in 7-day DVR, both shows regularly break 1 million viewers and are like maybe 200,000 viewers apart.
Yeah, so it's not crazy. Or it's gonna be well, what happened when Becky was the double champ, right? She had both belts at one point.
Yeah, she did.
She just stayed on her
I think
her brand.
This was because they had like the shakeup coming and whatnot. So I think this was like the rosters being set in stone.
Okay.
And she defended the belts twice on or maybe she lost to Charlotte, like their first double defense. I don't remember.
Yeah. Just any way I split this, it just comes out really bad. Like, it just doesn't feel good to me because, like, Charlotte wins, and either she's on NXT now and coming in all the time, which I'm not in favor of, or she keeps the belt and NXT doesn't have a women's champion for half a year.
Yeah.
Or she loses to Rhea, which I guess sure, but that kind of feels weird when Charlotte's just been like the Uber lady for so long.
I don't even dislike Charlotte Flair particularly. The issue I have is that both main roster championships are matches we've seen before, and seen before several times. We've seen different permutations of face and heel, but we've seen Charlotte and Becky and Charlotte and Bayley dozens of times. Mm-hmm. I have no interest in seeing those again. And while Rhea versus Charlotte is a fresh matchup and certainly an intriguing matchup because they're both very physical women. They're like
Right.
larger, and it'd be an interesting.
Built in that
Yes,
way.
they're physically a match more so than other opponents that Charlotte wrestles.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't want to see a NXT Women's title defended on WrestleMania because I know that the match isn't going to get enough time to be proper for the fairly high standard of NXT Women's title matches.
Right. And it's going to most certainly fall again into like a death spot.
Yeah. And like, what do you do on TakeOver if you don't have that? Do you have Rhea wrestle twice in one weekend? That hardly seems.
Are they going to shove in a Mae Young Classic between now and the TakeOver Brooklyn?
I'll tell you what match I want to see, and this is the money match I thought of today that I'm disappointed we're never going to get to see in NXT. That's Shayna versus Asuka, the two most dominant women's champions in NXT history, wrestling at TakeOver. I think it's the same sort of feeling you got during the first Brock Goldberg match. You're like, oh yeah, that'd be awesome. It wasn't, but
these two ladies are not both in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah. Well, no, that match was actually pretty good. I was talking about the one at WrestleMania 20 where they were both leaving the company, and everyone knew it.
Well, these women both have full mobility in their joints and a desire to keep wrestling with WWE. So they have, they've got the advantage in every category.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure if they do Charlotte versus Rhea, I'm almost certain that Shayna is still challenging Becky for the belt at Mania, which is fine, but it means that match couldn't take its spot. They couldn't do the dream match. I don't even know how you do it. I would just want it to happen.
I want Shayna to submit Asuka so hard that she spits out her green mist just everywhere. And we'll squeeze him like a dog toy.
And that'd be so interesting too, because the Asuka lock and the Kirifuda clutch are essentially the same move. The Asuka lock just has a chicken wing in there as well. So I'd be interested to see. I really want to see that match. The Bayley Lacey Evans match had the unfortunate distinction of following the Royal Rumble, and no one gave a shit. Lacey Evans is a babyface now. From what I understand, her character is essentially just Liberty Bell from Glow. And
good.
Bayley is still really good. She's coming into the heel role pretty well. This match was a lot better than I would have expected. Bayley did a pretty good carry job with Lacey Evans. I'd say it was actually better than Becky's matches against Lacey. Though I do have some more thoughts on Becky Lynch in that regard that we will address when we get to her match. But no one cared at all about this match. So
it's a yikes for me. That's why I ran 9 minutes.
Yeah. No heat. Finish came pretty quickly. Bayley won. I think she grabbed the tights or something like that when she rolled her up. The heel win. I don't know if this program continues. Probably they drag it out for another month. And then I'm thinking that it's either going to be Ember or Sasha, I'd think, for Bayley at Mania. I don't know which, but it shouldn't be Lacey, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's amazing that again, the momentum. Lacey's just going.
Yeah, I remember on the show maybe 2 years ago, Peter took pause during our review of an episode of NXT and asked me straight up, what do you think of the development potential of Lacey Evans? And what I said is that she needs another 2 years in developmental before she's ready. and I'm not sure
Well,
where she's going to be. Here we are, like 2 years later, and she's not as far along as I would have hoped. I mean, getting called up wasn't a help to her, but I never thought she'd be like anything better than a serviceable hand, and they're pushing her at a main event level, so it's not going well. Next up, we had The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan in a strap match. This was unlike most strap matches. It was not one where you had to touch the four corners. It was just pinfall or submission. They were just on a strap, and I'll be damned. If this wasn't like the best strap match I've ever seen. That's more like it's not necessarily praise for this match so much as throwing shade at the stip. But no, this match was actually really good. This is far and away the best title match of the Fiend's run in terms of match quality. They worked a really good pace. They used the strap, but the strap wasn't a hindrance to the moves they wanted to do when they were doing moves. Although the strap did make certain things difficult, like dives, so there were mercifully few of them. But yeah, they wrestled hard for about like 17, 18 minutes. And then the finish was a little bleh. Bryan was firing up, doing a lot of shit, and then the Fiend pretty much just was like, all right, and stop selling now. And then he hit Bryan back with some hard shots and put on the mandible claw to pin him. And they did the gimmick where they left the camera on Bryan. He got up and he stumbled up the ramp, but refused help. So this feud might continue. It might not. All signs seem to be pointing to Roman and the Fiend at Mania. So eventually they're going to have to start that, and they're going to have to intersect at the Elimination Chamber, and then you can go from there.
What happened to Rowan again? Because the last time I cared about Daniel Bryan, he was with Rowan.
Rowan got moved to Raw and now carries around a bird cage or some sort of small animal cage with a burlap sack over it. He talks to this sack-covered cage. No one is sure what is in it.
Those white kids just ain't right. I never came right out of that house. I swear to God.
Becky Lynch beat Asuka by submission. This match was a little rough in the beginning, a little plodding. They built to the finish well, which was Becky Lynch avoiding the green mist and getting the disarmor on Asuka for the victory and vanquishing her demon. It was okay, and I think I'm ready to conclude that Becky Lynch is not a great worker. She's laid a few eggs this year in pay-per-view main events, and watching Bayley versus Lacey Evans and thinking back to the quality of Lacey and Becky, it just struck me that I'm like, it's not quite. When we were leaving WrestleMania, there was a man talking loudly behind us who was quite upset with the finish, insisted that Becky didn't know how to work, and people only cheered because they thought it was cool, and she's Carmella with red hair. I wouldn't go as far as to say that she's Carmella tier as a worker, but her reign is kind of reminding me of John Cena in the late 2000s, where if you put him in there with someone good, the match is going to be pretty good, but they're not good enough to carry lesser workers to better matches. And sometimes it's not even a guarantee with her, because she's been in there with some good people, and sometimes, like her matches against Charlotte and Sasha, it comes out pretty damn good. And other times, like her match here with Asuka, or the match against the Kabuki Warriors at TLC, or the match against Bayley and Shayna at Survivor Series, it's a total dud.
Right.
Um,
And the ones you've named have all been recent ones too, so maybe it's I don't know, something recent's been going on.
yeah, I mean, although thinking back on it, is there a Becky Lynch match from like 2016 SmackDown era that you can remember as being particularly great?
Not at the moment, no.
I mean, she was the first champion. She lost it in pretty
Hmm.
short order to Alexa Bliss. And I don't remember. I mean, I remember that tables match being like, well, I guess that's the finish then.
Hmm. She's
um,
got. I think she's gotten pretty very far. Done a lot of good stuff with her natural charisma
yes.
and her promo ability.
Yeah, I'm not saying you should take the belt off her as a bad champion. I'm just saying that having her on top kind of exposes the lack of quality depth in the women's division, or at least like they haven't handled enough of their talent well enough to be viable main eventers like, to face
Hmm.
her.
I mean, Becky herself, like she got that shot and she ended up getting the championship because she she kind of put herself out there
Yeah.
and just took the reins on it when people were the writers were content to just let it go with. I don't even remember who they were.
It was Charlotte.
It was
Like
Charlotte, okay,
I don't remember.
but Becky got bonkers heat,
Yeah.
not
So
heat, pop.
yeah, like they was supposed to be a heel turn on Charlotte because I don't remember who was actually champion at the time, but they were in a triple threat match at I want to say SummerSlam for the SmackDown Women's Belt, and
Sounds
Becky had
right.
earned it, but Charlotte just kind of like weaseled her way in, and the story was Becky snapped, and that was supposed to be a heel turn, but the people were sick of Charlotte in the main event all the time, so it was a babyface turn or a
Hmm.
babyface move, and then they tried to fight it, and then they just steered into the skid, and we got what we got for
Yeah.
WrestleMania. But yeah, like I missed her NXT run, so maybe she had incredible barn burners in NXT all the time, and I missed out on that. But that was a while ago. That was 5 years ago at this point. So, and
Hmm.
she retired due to injuries. She was like a flight attendant for Ryanair or Aer Lingus for a period of time there before she came back to wrestling because her body's beat up. So like I don't doubt that at a point in time she was a fantastic worker, but right now she's it's becoming pretty clear that she's not. I don't want to say not
Hmm.
main event level in terms of her work because like again she can have good matches when she's in there with someone good, but
Not feature level,
yeah, I mean, she's the most over, so
I
you
guess.
build the brand around her. I don't even know
Yeah,
what I'm complaining about here. I just have this.
that she could. We want the best for her, and we want her to keep getting better at working.
Yeah,
How about that?
sure.
So it's hold
Well,
hands around the campfire
well
and sing songs about the man.
yeah. um, the men's Royal Rumble was next, and Brock Lesnar entered at number one and just tossed guys out um, for a while until Drew McIntyre came out at number 16. And with the assistance of a dick kick from Ricochet, was able to claymore Brock over the top rope um, to eliminate him. Brock Lesnar had 13 eliminations. He also was in the match for 26 minutes, which is more than he's worked in the past like 3 years.
Yeah, we gotta
um,
get you back in here sometime,
yeah, they got
buddy.
to recoup that investment. But yeah, they just all got tossed out one by one after coming out. Some of them lasted a while. Like the ones they really did dirty were Cesaro, who got tossed out in like 18 seconds. They didn't
Yep.
really even mix it up.
Yeah.
Um, Shinsuke Nakamura didn't really look competitive. He got some offense in, but Brock tossed him in short order. MVP came back, and then he got tossed. He did fuck all in the match, and then he lost to Rey Mysterio on Raw, and now he's like, I'm done with WWE. Um,
Bye bye.
bye. It's nice to see you back for the two matches you were back. Uh, Keith Lee and Braun Strowman got caught up with each other and got eliminated, but Keith Lee like was tossing around with Brock. He looked pretty good. And then, of course, Drew eliminated him. And then, the ring started to fill up a little bit. We got more people lasting longer. Bless you. The Miz came out at 17. AJ Styles came out at 18. Dolph Ziggler came out at 19. And Carl Anderson came out at 20. And then the buzzer rang for 21. And a familiar refrain echoed throughout the arena. You think you know me. And then the opening chords, the Metalingus hit, and the roof came off the place. And out came Edge. The very same Edge that yours truly watched make a passionate retirement speech in my hometown of Albany, New York, where he referenced the radio station, 104.9 The Edge. I don't know if that's still what that station is, but it was at the time. That's where he got the name from. Mm-hmm. And he was one of my favorites, and I remember crying quite heavily when I watched him make that speech. And then I cried again when I saw him walk out on this curtain, and from the look on his face, it looked like he was pretty close to tears too. This is one of the biggest pops you will ever see. This was a special Royal Rumble moment, right up there with the AJ Styles debut. Also, with the same shitty camera work, they didn't cut away from Edge in the middle of his entrance like they did with AJ, but they did miss his first spear back for a crowd shot. But yeah, Edge looked great. 9 years, best shape of his life. He was in there. He mixed it up. He took a lot of bumps. He took a magic killer. I guess the next okay, it's going to be a long time. Apparently he signed a 3-year deal. But it's going to be a long time before I don't wince a little bit when he takes a particular bump. I mean, it took a while where I still, when I watch Daniel Bryan matches, I'm like, be careful with him. And it took me 2 years before I stopped cringing every time Seth landed on his knee funny.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, it's one of these. It does speak to the ability of these guys to get back out here and, get back on it.
So I think we have AEW to thank for this, because Edge was told in no uncertain terms. He didn't want to retire in 2011.
Right.
He was told in no uncertain terms, you will never be cleared again to wrestle. But then as time wore on and he started feeling a little bit better, he went to his own doctors and they said, okay, yeah, you could probably wrestle again. And he got that itch, and he supposedly went to AEW and he had a deal in place with them where he would come in and, they have a lighter schedule, not as many dates, and he'd have a backstage role there as well. And then he took that offer to WWE and he's like, can you give me the same deal here? And I'll come back. And suddenly Edge was cleared to compete in WWE again. And he's back. Similar situation with Daniel Bryan, where Daniel Bryan's like, okay, I'm going to leave and wrestle somewhere. I'll let my contract run out unless you clear me to wrestle. And suddenly he was cleared to wrestle.
And there it was.
Funny how all that works. But he was in there till the final three. He tossed out Randy Orton, and Randy Orton became Morty Seinfeld for a minute and went, ah! And then he viciously attacked him the following Monday on Raw. So that's your WrestleMania match. Roman Reigns was out after Randy Orton. He got in there. Came down to Roman and Drew. Drew tossing him out and winning. So it's Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar. He made his choice the following night on Raw. Aleister Black, Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, or not Aleister Black. Seth Rollins, his crew, Kevin Owens, and Samoa Joe had their interactions in the Rumble too. Right at the end there, Aleister Black was in there. He lasted a little bit, but didn't eliminate anyone. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Pretty good Rumble. Like the winner. I'm excited about the match. I I think you kind of have to have Drew win. We'll see if he can do better than Seth did. I think he can. There's something about Drew McIntyre that he was a great champion in Impact. He completely reinvented himself. I was digging him as NXT champion. Then he got hurt. I think he can succeed if they get behind him.
Mm-hmm. He's got to do it.
So that was the Royal Rumble. All in all, a pretty good show. Definitely the best main roster pay-per-view in a while. I will probably not watch Super Showdown, and I like the Elimination Chamber match, so I might watch the Chamber matches, but I don't think I'll watch the whole show. And if there's Fastlane, obviously I'm skipping that.
Yup.
Then Mania, which of course we will watch because that's just an annual tradition.
It's an excuse to watch wrestling all day.
Yeah. And all right, so that's Royal Rumble, Worlds Collide. Overall, pretty good weekend for wrestling. And we'll be back with more reviews. So we got some catch up to play.
Just a little bit.